come in and don't make a sound.
The knife was already at her throat when Vera Lowe realized three things. She'd walked into the wrong room. The man holding the blade was Korea's most feared crime lord, and he hadn't touched a woman in 12 years. Not since the last one died in his arms. Vera should have died that night. Hotel policy, Mafia code, simple logic all demanded it. Instead, Hyunwoo Park did something he hadn't done in over a decade. He lowered the knife, and in doing so, he signed both their death warrants. This is a story of how a broke black Maid from Detroit accidentally became the only thing that could break, or save, Korea's most dangerous man. Before we start this absolutely intense story, you need to subscribe right now, because what happens between Vera and Hyunwoo is the kind of forbidden connection that doesn't just break rules, it starts wars. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this mafia romance is about to get dangerous. I'm talking assassination attempts, possessive protection, and a love that literally threatens to destroy an entire criminal empire. You ready? Let's go. Imagine being completely alone in a country where you don't speak the language, don't understand the culture, and don't have a single person who would notice if you disappeared. That's Vera Lowe's reality. She's 29 years old, Black American, and 6 months ago her entire life imploded. Her fiancé, the man she'd been with for 4 years, the man she'd planned her entire future around, emptied their joint account and vanished 2 weeks before their wedding. $47,000 in debt, 200 confused guests, a family that blamed her for the shame and cut her off completely. So Vera did what heartbroken people do when they have nothing left to lose. She ran. As far as she could. Seoul seemed random enough, foreign enough, far enough from Detroit, and her humiliation that maybe she could start over. The teaching visa fell through. The hostel beds are $15 a night she can barely afford. And the only work she can get is cash-in-hand cleaning jobs that don't ask questions about her immigration status. But Vera is a survivor. Always has been. So when she's hired to clean at the Songdo Grand Hotel, one of Seoul's most exclusive properties, she doesn't ask why they hired her sight unseen. She just shows up, keeps her head down, and cleans. What Vera doesn't know is that the Songdo Grand Hotel isn't just a hotel. It's a front. A very expensive, very legitimate-looking front for the Park crime family's operations. Money laundering, arms deals, territory control. All of it filtered through luxury suites and corporate bookings. And the 42nd floor, the restricted floor Vera is explicitly told never to approach, belongs to one man. Hyunwoo Park, 38 years old, covered in traditional Korean tattoos that tell stories of violence and survival. Scars that map out every betrayal, every war, every price he's paid to build an empire. Eyes so cold that grown men flinch when he looks at them. Hyunwoo hasn't touched a woman in 12 years. Hasn't allowed one in his private space. Hasn't felt anything close to desire or connection or vulnerability since the night his fiancée, Min-ji, was murdered by his enemies specifically because loving her made him weak. He swore after burying her that he would never be weak again, that he would never give his enemies a target, that he would be alone, controlled, untouchable. For 12 years, he kept that promise, until Vera Lowe, exhausted and disoriented after a double shift, got off the elevator on the wrong floor, walked through a door she thought was the supply closet, and found herself face-to-face with the one man in all of Seoul she should never have met. The collision was accidental. The consequences will be anything but, because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world isn't violence or power or revenge. It's a connection. And Hyunwoo Park is about to learn that 12 years of walls can crumble in a single moment when the right person accidentally walks through the door. Welcome to Seoul. Welcome to survival. Welcome to the kind of love that starts with a knife at your throat and ends with choosing each other over everything. Let's begin. Vera Lowe's hands were raw from bleach, and her feet screamed from 12 hours of scrubbing floors when she finally clocked out at 2 a.m. on her third night at the Sondo Grand Hotel. The job had seemed like a miracle when the staffing agency called. Cash daily, no questions asked, start immediately. For someone whose visa was questionable and whose bank account contained exactly 43,000 won, about $32. It was the best offer Vera had gotten in 6 months of scrambling. She'd spent the evening cleaning luxury suites on the 28th floor, rooms that cost more per night than Vera made in a month. Marble bathrooms, designer furniture, the kind of wealth that made her Detroit upbringing in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 siblings feel like a different lifetime. Her supervisor, Mrs. Kong, was a severe woman in her 50s who spoke minimal English and had made it very clear through gestures and sharp Korean that Vera was on probation. 3 strikes, and she was out. Floor 42, Mrs. Kong had said in broken English at the end of shift. Never go. Understand? Never. Vera had nodded, not entirely sure what was so special about the 42nd floor, but too exhausted to care. Now, at 2 a.m., Vera just wanted to get back to the hostel in Itaewon, where her bunk bed and locker full of her entire life waited. She dragged her cleaning cart toward the service elevator, hit the button for ground level, and leaned against the wall. The elevator went down, then stopped. 42nd floor. Vera frowned. She hadn't pressed that button, but the doors opened anyway, revealing a corridor unlike anything she'd seen in the hotel. Where the other floors were standard luxury, nice but corporate, this hallway was different. Dark, quiet, expensive in a way that felt personal rather than designed. And empty. Vera stepped out, confused, looking for the button to close the elevator doors. That's when she saw it, a supply closet at the end of the hall, exactly where the supply closets were on every other floor. Probably left my favorite cleaning gloves up here, Vera thought groggily. Must have mixed up my card earlier. She walked down the corridor, her footsteps muffled by carpet so thick it felt like walking on clouds. Reached the door. Turned the handle. It wasn't a supply closet. It was a penthouse suite. And standing in the middle of the room, wearing black pants and an open shirt that revealed extensive traditional Korean tattoos covering his chest and arms, was a man who radiated danger so profound Vera actually froze mid-step. He was maybe late 30s, Korean, with sharp features, cold eyes, and scars that suggested violence was a regular part of his life. He was holding a knife, not threateningly, just casually, like he'd been examining it when she interrupted. They stared at each other for a frozen moment. Then the man moved, fast, professional, and suddenly the knife was at Vera's throat. The man's other hand clamped over her mouth to prevent her from screaming. "Who sent you?" he asked in English with a Korean accent, his voice low and absolutely controlled. Vera's heart hammered so hard she thought it might explode. She tried to speak against his palm, managed only muffled sounds. The man, "Oh God, is he going to kill me? Is this how I die?" In Seoul in a hotel room, because I walked into the wrong door, studied her with eyes so cold Vera felt like she was being dissected. "I'm going to remove my hand," he said. "If you scream, you die. If you lie, you die. If you make any sudden moves, you die. Not if you understand." Vera nodded frantically. He removed his hand, but the knife stayed at her throat. "Who sent you?" "No one." Vera's voice came out as a terrified whisper. "I'm a cleaner. I work here. I thought this was the supply closet. I got off on the wrong floor. Please, I didn't mean to." "You're American." "Yes. Detroit. I'm just trying to survive, okay? I needed work, and they hired me, and I was told never to come to this floor, but the elevator stopped here, and I thought." Vera's words were tumbling out in a rush. Tears started to stream down her face. "Please don't kill me. I didn't see anything. I don't know anything. I'll leave right now, and I'll never say a word to anyone. I swear, please." The man studied her, and Vera saw him taking in details. Her worn cleaning uniform, her raw hands, the exhaustion evident in every line of her body. "What's your name?" Vera. Vera lo. How long had you worked here? 3 days. Who's your supervisor? Mrs. Kong. The man's eyes narrowed slightly, and Vera saw him processing, calculating. Then something shifted in his expression, not softening exactly, but a fractional decrease in the cold fury. You really are just a cleaner. Yes. I promisa, I nobody, I'm used. Vera didn't finish the sentence. The adrenaline crash, combined with the fact that she hadn't eaten anything substantial in 2 days, hit her all at once. The room spun. Her knees buckled as she collapsed. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the dangerous man's surprised expression as he caught her before she hit the floor. When Vera woke, she was on a couch. Not the floor. Not dead. On an incredibly expensive leather couch in what appeared to be a living room that probably cost more than her entire childhood home. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted like metal. And standing across the room, watching her with an expression she couldn't read, was the man with the knife. Except now there was another man, younger, also Korean, in a suit, standing beside him. She's awake, the suited man said in English. The dangerous man said something in Korean. Fast, sharp. The suited man nodded and left the room. Then dangerous man with knife approached Vera slowly, holding a bottle of water and what looked like a protein bar. Eat, he ordered. Vera's survival instincts were screaming conflicting messages. Don't take food from the man who just had a knife at your throat versus you're starving, and if he wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. She took the water and protein bar with shaking hands. When was the last time you ate? Yesterday morning, Vera admitted. Before that, 2 days ago. Something flickered in the man's expression. Not sympathy exactly, but recognition? Understanding? Eat, he said again. Then he sat down in the chair across from her, studying her with that same unsettling intensity. Vera ate because her body demanded it, tearing into the protein bar with embarrassing desperation. The man watched without comment. When she'd finished both the bar and half the water, he finally spoke. My name is Hyunwoo Park. I own this hotel. The 42nd floor is private. No staff are allowed here without explicit clearance. You violated that protocol. I'm sorry, Vera whispered. I didn't know. I know. If you had known, you would never have come. Hyunwoo leaned forward slightly. Now I have a decision to make. Under normal circumstances, you would be eliminated for this breach. Vera's blood went cold. Eliminated, killed. To ensure you don't share information about me, about this floor, about what you saw. I didn't see anything. You saw me, in my private space, at a vulnerable moment. That is enough. Hyunwoo's eyes never left her face. However, you're clearly not a threat. You're a broke American woman working illegally in a country where you don't speak the language, eating once every 2 days because you can barely afford to survive. You're desperate, not dangerous. The accuracy of his assessment was somehow worse than the threat. So what happens to me? That depends on you. Hyunwoo stood. You can leave tonight. I will pay you for 1 month's work, enough to get back to America or find legitimate employment. In exchange, you never speak of this floor, this suite, or me. You work your remaining shifts on other floors, and when your contract ends, you leave Korea. Agree to this, and you live. It was more mercy than Vera had expected, but something in his tone suggested there was an alternative. Or you stay. Vera blinked. Stay? I find myself in need of a personal attendant for this floor. Someone to maintain the suite, handle cleaning, manage the private spaces. The pay would be triple what you're currently making. Cash. I'll also handle your visa situation. Make it legal, permanent. Why would you do that? Because I'm a pragmatic man, Miss Lowe. You've seen this space. You know I exist. I can either eliminate you, send you away and hope you keep your word, or bind you to me through employment and mutual benefit. Hyunwoo's smile was sharp. I prefer the third option. Vera's mind raced. Triple pay, legal visa, stable employment. But working for a man who casually discussed murdering people in a hotel that was obviously a front for something criminal. on a floor she wasn't supposed to know existed. "I need to think about it," Vera said. "You have 1 minute. That's not enough time. It's more than most people get." Hyunwoo's expression didn't change. "You're exhausted, broke, and alone in a foreign country. You need money and protection. I'm offering both. The only question is whether your survival instinct outweighs your fear." He was right, and Vera hated that he was right. "If I say yes, I can still quit later?" "No. Once you're part of this world, you don't leave." Hyunwoo's honesty was brutal. "So choose carefully. Freedom and poverty, or security and obligation." Vera thought about the hostel. The constant fear of running out of money. The humiliation of her family cutting her off. Devon's betrayal. The endless cascade of losses that had brought her to Seoul in the first place. "I'll stay," she said. "Good." Hyunwoo gestured to the suited man who'd reappeared in the doorway. "Jin-ho will handle the details. Your new shift starts tomorrow at 6 p.m. "Understood." "Yes." "Then go. Jin-ho will escort you out." As Vera stood to leave, still shaky from exhaustion and adrenaline, Hyunwoo spoke once more. "Miss Lo." She turned. "Don't make me regret this." "I won't," Vera promised. But as she followed Jin-ho out of the suite and back into the elevator, Vera couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just made a deal that would change her life in ways she couldn't possibly predict. Behind her, in his penthouse, Hyunwoo Park stood at the window overlooking Seoul and tried to understand why, for the first time in 12 years, he'd let someone live who should have died. Okay, pause. Did Vera just accept a job from a man who literally had a knife at her throat 5 minutes earlier? "Girl, I know you're broke, but boundaries. But also, I'm totally invested now." If you're not subscribed, fix that immediately because this story is about to get so much more complicated. Drop a comment. Would you have taken the job or run? Be honest. Let's continue. Vera showed up for her first official shift as Hyunwoo Park's personal attendant at exactly 6 p.m. the next evening, her heart hammering with a combination of anxiety and surreal disbelief at what she'd agreed to. The service elevator that went to the 42nd floor now required a key card. Jin-ho had given it to her that morning along with an envelope containing more cash than Vera had seen in 6 months. "Advance on your salary," he'd said in precise English. "Mr. Park insists you eat properly." The fact that a crime boss was concerned about her nutrition was somehow more unsettling than the knife had been. When the elevator doors opened, Jin-ho was waiting. He was younger than Hyunwoo, maybe early 30s, with the kind of sharp intelligence in his eyes that suggested he saw everything and forgot nothing. His English was impeccable, his suit expensive, and his demeanor suggested he'd killed people and filed paperwork about it with equal efficiency. "Miss Lo, welcome to your new position." Jin-ho gestured for her to follow. "I'll explain the protocols." They walked through the penthouse. In daylight, Vera could see it properly now. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's skyline. Minimalist furniture that probably cost more than a car. Art that looked original and priceless. Everything immaculate and cold. "Rule 1, Jin-ho began, his tone suggesting he'd given this speech before. "You never ask questions about Mr. Park's business. You will see people come and go. You will overhear conversations. You will witness things that might concern you. You do not ask. You do not comment. You do not remember. Understood? Understood." Rule 2. You do not enter Mr. Park's private quarters, bedroom, office, bathroom, unless explicitly instructed to do so. The rest of the suite is your responsibility to maintain, but those spaces are off limits. Okay. Rule 3. You do not discuss this floor, this job, or Mr. Park with anyone. Not the other hotel staff, not friends, not family back in America. As far as anyone knows, you work standard hotel shifts. Clear. Clear. Jin-ho stopped in what appeared to be a small service room off the main corridor. Inside were cleaning supplies of professional grade. Nothing like the cheap products Vera had been using on the other floors. Your equipment. Your schedule is 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., 6 days a week. Sundays off. You'll be paid weekly in cash unless you prefer a bank transfer, which I don't recommend given your visa situation. Jinho's expression didn't change. Mr. Park has arranged for your visa to be corrected through alternative channels. In 2 weeks, you'll have proper documentation. Until then, cash is safer. He can just fix visa issues. Jinho smiled slightly. Miss Lowe, Mr. Park can fix almost anything. Whether he chooses to is the question. Why is he choosing to fix mine? That's a question that violates Rule 1. Jinho handed her a printed schedule. You'll find Mr. Park is a man of routine. He's in his office from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. handling business. During that time, you clean the main living areas quietly. From 9 p.m. to midnight, he may have visitors, business associates. You make yourself invisible. After midnight, he's usually alone. That's when you can handle the kitchen and other spaces that require more noise. Does he sleep? Rarely. And that's not your concern. Jinho's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then back at Vera. Mr. Park is in a meeting. Begin with the living room. I'll be nearby if you need anything. He left, and Vera was alone in a luxury penthouse belonging to a man who'd held a knife to her throat less than 24 hours ago. This is insane, she thought. I should run. I should call the embassy. I should do literally anything except clean this man's floor. But she thought about the cash in her pocket, the promise of a legal visa, the alternative of going back to hostel beds and starvation wages. Vera got to work. The first week was surreal. Vera cleaned in near silence while Hyun-woo conducted business in his office. She could hear voices through the door, always in Korean, often tense. Men came and went, always escorted by Jinho, always looking nervous. Hyun-woo himself barely acknowledged Vera's existence. He'd walk past her without a word, grab food from the kitchen without comment, sit at his desk visible through the glass office walls, and make phone calls that looked intense even without understanding the language. But Vera felt his eyes on her constantly, not in a sexual way, nothing that made her uncomfortable in that specific sense, but watching, evaluating, like she was a variable in an equation he was trying to solve. On the third day, Vera was cleaning the kitchen when Hyun-woo appeared silently behind her. You're efficient. Vera jumped, nearly dropping the glass she'd been washing. Jesus, you can't just. She stopped, remembering Jinho's warning about respect. Hyun-woo's expression didn't change. I apologize for startling you. I meant it as a compliment. You work thoroughly without making unnecessary noise. Thank you. Jinho said you've been eating regularly. Yeah, the money you gave me helped. Good. Hyun-woo poured himself water from the filter dispenser. You still look exhausted. Are you sleeping? The question was so unexpected, so almost caring, that Vera didn't know how to respond. I'm fine. You're lying. But that's your choice. Hyun-woo drained the water glass. If you need anything, different supplies, adjusted hours, whatever makes this job sustainable, tell Jinho. Why do you care if I'm sustainable? Hyun-woo looked at her directly, those cold eyes studying her face. Because I dislike inefficiency. Training a replacement would be inconvenient. It should have stung. Instead, Vera almost laughed at the brutal honesty. Right. Wouldn't want to inconvenience you with my collapse. Precisely. Was that almost a smile? Continue. He left, and Vera stood in the kitchen wondering what the hell just happened. By the end of the first week, Vera had learned a few things. 1. Hyun-woo was nocturnal. He rarely slept before 4 a.m., which meant Vera often saw him in the early morning hours before her shift ended, reading or working at his desk. 2. He ate irregularly, sometimes not at all for days, then consuming elaborate meals at odd hours. Vera started leaving prepared food in the refrigerator with reheating instructions. He never thanked her, but the food was always gone. 3. Other hotel staff were terrified of the 42nd floor. When Vera mentioned, vaguely, not breaking rules, that she'd been reassigned, Mrs. Kang's expression had gone pale. That floor bad luck, Mrs. Kang said in broken English. Girls who go there don't come back. I came back, Vera pointed out. You're different. Or you die soon. One or other. Comforting. 4. Hyun-woo was rebuilding her. The first paycheck was triple what he'd promised. The second week, Jin-ho appeared with a doctor who gave Vera a full physical and prescribed vitamins for her malnutrition. The third week, a new phone appeared with a note. Your American phone is a security risk. Use this. HP. It felt like being collected. Like Hyun-woo was systematically eliminating every vulnerability in her life. Not out of kindness, but out of that same control he applied to everything. Vera should have hated it. Instead, she felt cared for, protected. Stockholm Syndrome, she told herself. This is absolutely Stockholm Syndrome. But she kept showing up, kept cleaning, kept leaving food, kept existing in Hyun-woo's orbit. And on the 13th night, everything changed. The night started normally. Vera arrived at 6 p.m., used her key card, and entered the penthouse. Hyun-woo was in his office on a call. She could see him through the glass, pacing, gesturing sharply. Whatever the conversation was about, it wasn't going well. She began her routine. Living room first, then kitchen, then the bathrooms in the guest wing. Around 8 p.m., Jin-ho stopped by briefly. Mr. Park will have visitors tonight. 2 business associates. They'll be in the conference room. Stay in the east wing until they leave. Understood. Jin-ho left. Vera continued cleaning, keeping to the eastern side of the penthouse where the guest bathrooms and secondary living spaces were located. She was scrubbing a bathtub when she heard the elevator ding, the visitors arriving. Male voices speaking Korean. Then Hyun-woo's voice, measured and cold, leading them somewhere. Vera kept working, making as little noise as possible. 30 minutes passed. An hour. Then Vera heard something that made her blood freeze. A gunshot, followed by Hyun-woo's roar of fury. More gunshots. Rapid, professional. Vera dropped the cleaning supplies and pressed herself against the bathroom wall, heart hammering. What do I do? Hide? Run? Call for help? The gunfire stopped. Heavy footsteps approaching. Vera held her breath. The bathroom door slammed open. A man she didn't recognize, Korean, 30s, wearing maintenance coveralls, stood there with a gun. You the maid? He asked in English with a thick accent. Vera couldn't speak, just stared at the weapon pointed at her chest. Hyun-woo's whore, the man said, smiling cruelly. Perfect. He died protecting you. He raised the gun. Vera closed her eyes. The shot came, but not from the direction she expected. When Vera opened her eyes, the man was on the floor, blood pooling beneath him. And standing in the doorway, his own gun still raised, was Hyun-woo. He looked different than Vera had ever seen him. Not controlled, not measured, furious. His jaw was tight, his eyes blazed, and there was blood on his shirt, though whether it was his or someone else's, Vera couldn't tell. Are you hurt? Hyun-woo demanded. Vera shook her head, unable to form words. Can you walk? She nodded. Then come. Now. Hyun-woo grabbed her arm, not roughly, but firmly, and pulled her out of the bathroom. They moved through the penthouse quickly, and Vera saw things she would never unsee. 2 bodies in the conference room, both in suits. Both are very dead. Bullet holes in the wall. Shattered glass from what had been an expensive vase. Jin-ho and 3 other men Vera had never seen were already there, moving with practiced efficiency. Body bags, cleaning supplies, weapons being cataloged. Jin-ho, Hyun-woo barked in English, secure the girl. Yes, sir. Jin-ho approached Vera gently. Miss Lowe, please come with me. You're safe now. What the hell just happened? Vera's voice came out shaky. An assassination attempt, Jin-ho said calmly, as if discussing the weather. Jang Syndicate sent operatives posing as business associates. They failed. 3 men are dead. 4, actually. There was another in the elevator. Jin-ho guided Vera to a sitting area away from the bodies. Please wait here while we handle cleanup. Vera sank onto the couch, her entire body shaking. She watched numbly as Hyun-woo's people worked with military precision, photographing, documenting, removing. Within 20 minutes, there was no evidence anything had happened except some damaged walls. Hyun-woo disappeared into his bedroom, returned in a fresh shirt, no longer bloodstained. He approached Vera, crouched down so they were eye level. "I need you to listen carefully," he said, his voice controlled again. "What you just witnessed makes you a liability. Not to me, to my enemies. The Jang Syndicate now knows I have someone in my personal space. They will assume you matter to me. That makes you a target." "I don't matter to you," Vera said. "I'm just your maid. That won't stop them from using you against me." Hyun-woo's expression was grim. "You can't go back to your hostel. You can't work anywhere else in this hotel. As of right now, you're under my protection whether you like it or not." "What does that mean?" "It means you live here, in my penthouse, in a secure guest room. You don't leave without armed escort. You don't contact anyone from your old life. You become invisible to everyone except me and my people. That's kidnapping. That's survival." Hyun-woo stood. "Jin-ho will move your belongings from the hostel tonight. You'll have everything you need here. You can't just..." "I can. I am. And unless you have a better solution for how to keep you alive when a criminal organization now considers you a vulnerability to exploit, I suggest you accept it." Vera wanted to argue, wanted to scream, wanted to do literally anything except accept that her life had just been completely hijacked. But she thought about the man who'd called her Hyun-woo's whore and pointed a gun at her chest. She thought about how effortlessly Hyun-woo had killed to protect her. "How long?" Vera asked. "As long as it takes to eliminate the threat. Weeks, maybe months. And if I refuse, then you walk out that door, and I give you 12 hours before you're dead." Hyun-woo's honesty was brutal. "Your choice, Miss Lowe. Protected prisoner or dead idealist." Vera thought about Detroit, about Devon's betrayal, about her family cutting her off, about every single time she'd been powerless and alone. "Fine," she said. "I'll stay. Smart. Vyanvo o nodito yinho." Show her to the guest room. Make sure she has everything she needs. As Jin-ho led Vera away, she looked back once. Hyun-woo was standing by the windows, silhouetted against Seoul's night skyline, looking every inch the dangerous man he was. And for the first time since entering his world, Vera wondered if the danger she should be most afraid of wasn't his enemies. It was him. The guest room was bigger than Vera's childhood bedroom, the hostel dorm, and her college apartment combined. King-size bed, private bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. A walk-in closet currently empty except for the plastic bag containing Vera's entire worldly possessions that Jin-ho had retrieved from the hostel. "Everything you need is here," Jin-ho explained, gesturing to various amenities. Toiletries in the bathroom. Fresh linens. Wi-Fi password on the desk. The mini fridge is stocked. "This is insane," Vera said. "This is necessary." Jin-ho's expression was sympathetic but firm. Mr. Park doesn't make decisions lightly. If he says you're in danger, you're in danger. From a Jang syndicate, among others. You witnessed an assassination attempt. You saw Mr. Park kill 3 men. That makes you a witness, which makes you valuable to law enforcement and rival organizations alike. So I'm just trapped here, protected here, Jin-ho corrected. There's a difference. After Jin-ho left, Vera sat on the enormous bed and tried to process what her life had become. 3 weeks ago, she'd been barely surviving in Seoul. 2 weeks ago, she'd accidentally walked into a crime lord's suite. Now she was living in that suite, essentially kidnapped for her own protection. This is Stockholm Syndrome, Vera told herself again. I need to be looking for a way out, not getting comfortable. But when she looked around the room, really looked, she couldn't deny that comfortable was an understatement. The bed was the softest thing she'd ever felt. The bathroom had heated floors. The mini fridge contained actual food, not the ramen and convenience store rice balls she'd been surviving on. For the first time in 6 months, Vera didn't have to worry about where her next meal was coming from or whether she'd have a place to sleep. The cost was just her freedom. Small price, the exhausted, broke part of her whispered. Let it protect you. Let someone else be responsible for once. Vera fell asleep in her clothes, too tired to even consider changing. She woke at 3 a.m. to voices outside her door. Not arguing, discussing. Korean, so she couldn't understand most of it, but she recognized Hyunwoo's low tone and Jinho's slightly higher responses. Then English. She needs to understand the reality. Give her time to adjust. We don't have time. The Jang will move fast. Silence. Then footsteps walking away. Vera lay in the dark, heart pounding, wondering what the Jang will move fast meant for her specifically. She didn't sleep again that night. Morning came with a knock on her door. Vera opened it to find Jinho holding a tray with breakfast. Real breakfast, not the instant coffee and bread she'd been eating. Eggs, rice, fruit, brupitea. Mr. Park insists you eat properly, Jinho said, setting the tray on the desk. He also asked me to give you this. He handed Vera an envelope. Inside, documentation. Her passport, which had been at the hostel. A new alien registration card with her photo and information, marked E7 visa, valid for employment. Bank account information for an account she didn't open containing an amount that made her gasp. That's 3 months advance salary, Jinho explained. Plus compensation for the debt Mr. Park paid off on your behalf. What debt? The wedding debt. $47,000. Mr. Park had it settled with the vendors and your credit cleared. Vera's hands shook. How did he even know about that? Mr. Park investigates anyone who enters his space. He knew about your ex-fiancée, your family situation, your financial circumstances before you woke up that first night. That's thorough, Jinho finished. Mr. Park leaves nothing to chance. This is too much. I can't accept. You already did when you agreed to stay. Jinho's expression was kind but firm. Mr. Park doesn't do anything halfway, Miss Lowe. If you're under his protection, you're under his protection. That means safe, fed, financially stable, and legally documented. Fighting it is pointless. After Jinho left, Vera stared at the documentation. Hyunwoo had systematically eliminated every vulnerability in her life. The debt that had been crushing her gone. Her precarious visa situation fixed. Her empty bank account filled. She should feel manipulated, controlled. Instead, she felt safe. For the first time since Devon's betrayal, someone had actually taken care of her. This is dangerous, Vera warned herself. You're starting to depend on him, to trust him, and he's a criminal who kills people. But the scared, exhausted part of her that had been surviving on adrenaline and desperation for 6 months didn't care about moral complexity. It just wanted to stop fighting. That night, Vera emerged from her room around 10 p.m., unable to sleep and too wired from everything that had happened. The penthouse was quiet. She walked through the main living area, drawn to the floor-to-ceiling windows and the glittering sprawl of Seoul below. Can't sleep? Vera jumped. Hyunwoo was in the shadows near the bar, holding a glass of what looked like whiskey. You scared me. I seem to do that a lot. Hyunwoo approached, but kept distance between them. You should be resting. I should be doing a lot of things. Resting isn't high on the priority list. Fair. Hyunwoo studied her. You're angry. I'm a lot of things. Angry is one of them. At me specifically, or the situation generally? Both. Vera turned to face him fully. You paid off my debt, fixed my visa, essentially bought my compliance. I removed obstacles that made you vulnerable. Without asking me. Would you have refused? Hyunwoo's expression didn't change. If I'd asked permission, would you have said no to legal documentation and financial stability? That's not the point. That's exactly the point. Hyunwoo's voice stayed level. You needed help. I provided it. Your pride is hurt, but your circumstances are improved. I don't see the problem. The problem is I didn't choose this. You chose to stay when I gave you the option to leave. Everything after that is a consequence. Vera wanted to argue, but he was right. She had chosen to stay. She'd chosen money over freedom, security over autonomy. I looked in your background too, Vera said quietly. Asked Jinho some questions. He was surprisingly willing to share. What did you learn? That you haven't had anyone in this penthouse in 12 years. that your security protocols are extreme even by criminal standards, that everyone who works for you is terrified you'll snap and kill them. Accurate assessment. So why me? Why break 12 years of isolation for a broke American maid who stumbled into your room by accident? Hyunwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then, because you fainted before I could kill you. And when you woke up, you weren't afraid in the way people usually are. You were practical, focused on survival rather than terror. That made me special. That made you interested. Hyunwoo's eyes met hers. I've spent 12 years alone because everyone around me either wants something or fears me. You just wanted to live. That was refreshing. So you collected me. Like a pet project. I protected you. There's a difference. Is there? Vera challenged. Because from where I'm standing, this looks a lot like a cage. Gilded and comfortable, but still a cage. Then leave. Hyunwoo gestured to the elevator. The doors aren't locked. Walk out right now. I won't stop you. Vera looked at the elevator. Thought about the hostel. The constant fear. The empty stomach and precarious visa and crushing debt. Thought about the man who'd pointed a gun at her chest and called her Hyunwoo's whore. You know I can't, she said quietly. Because you die? Or because you don't want to? The question hung in the air between them. Vera didn't answer because she didn't know. Hyunwoo drained his whiskey. When you figure out, let me know. Until then, get some sleep. Tomorrow Jin-ho will brief you on security protocols. He walked away, leaving Vera standing by the windows, wondering when exactly she'd stopped being a prisoner and started being something else entirely. Real talk. Is Hyunwoo protecting Vera or controlling her? Option A. Protecting. She literally almost died. He's keeping her safe. Option B. Controlling. He paid off her debt and fixed her visa to make her dependent on him. Option C. Both. And it's complicated. Drop your answer in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This story is about to get even more intense. Let's continue. 3 weeks of living in Hyunwoo's penthouse created a strange kind of routine. Vera still technically worked. She cleaned, organized, managed the domestic side of the space. But it felt different now. Less like employment and more like cohabitation, partnership. She couldn't quite name it. Hyunwoo was gone most days, handling business she wasn't privy to. But evenings he was there, working in his office, taking calls, occasionally eating the meals Vera prepared because she discovered he forgot to eat if left to his own devices. They developed an unspoken rhythm, coexistence without intrusion. Until the night, everything shifted. It was 1 a.m. when Vera heard the crash. She'd been reading in her room, one of the many books from Hyunwoo's extensive library he'd told her she could access. The sound of something breaking made her put the book down and venture into the main penthouse area. Hyunwoo was in the living room, standing amid the shards of what had been an expensive glass sculpture. He was breathing hard, his fist bleeding from where he'd apparently punched it. Are you okay? Vera asked. Fina, go back to your room. Your hand is bleeding. I said I'm fine. Vera ignored him, went to the bathroom, returned with the first aid kit Jin-ho had shown her. Seat. Vera. Sit down and let me clean that before it gets infected. For a moment, she thought he'd refuse. Then Hyunwoo sat heavily on the couch, extending his bleeding hand with obvious reluctance. Vera worked in silence, cleaning the cuts, applying antiseptic, wrapping gauze. Hyunwoo watched her with an expression she couldn't read. What happened? Vera asked quietly. Bad news. Related to the Jang? No. Personal. Vera finished bandaging his hand. You don't have to tell me. But if you want to talk, I'm here. Hyunwoo laughed, a bitter, broken sound. You want to hear about my problems? The man who's essentially keeping you prisoner? You're not keeping me prisoner anymore. We both know I could leave if I really wanted to. Then why don't you? Because Vera sat beside him. For better or worse, I feel safer here than I have anywhere else in 6 months. And because I think you need someone to actually see you as a person instead of a weapon. Hyunwoo went very still. You don't know what you're talking about. Then explain it to me. For a long moment, Hyun-woo said nothing. Then, today is the anniversary. Anniversary of Min-ji's death. 12 years ago today. The name Jin-ho had mentioned in passing. The reason Hyun-woo had been alone for over a decade. Tell me about her, Vera said gently. Why would you want to know? Because she clearly still haunts you. And because understanding might help. Hyun-woo stood, walked to the windows, looked out at Seoul spread beneath them. When he finally spoke, his voice was distant. Min-ji was light. That's the only way I can describe her. I was 26, already deep in this life, already violent and cold. She was a civilian, a teacher. We met by accident at a bookstore. She had no idea who I was or what I did. When did you tell her? 6 months in. I thought she'd run. Instead, she said, everyone has darkness. You chose to make yours profitable. Hyun-woo's smile was sad. She saw me. Really saw me. Not the killer, not the boss. Just me. What happened to her? Hyun-woo's hands clenched. We were engaged, planning a quiet wedding. I was being careful. She stayed far from my business. We used false names for reservations. I had security on her constantly. But the Jang syndicate found out anyway. They wanted to merge our territories. I refused. So they took her. Hyun-woo's voice went cold. Held her for 3 days. Tortured her. Not for information. They knew she didn't have any. They did it to punish me. To show me what happens when I don't comply. Vera felt her chest tighten. I'm so sorry. I got her back. Traded half my territory for her release. But by then, Hyun-woo closed his eyes. She was barely alive. Broken ribs, internal bleeding, burns. She died in my arms 2 hours after the exchange. Hyun-woo. Her last words were, I'm sorry. She apologized to me for being a weakness they could exploit. His voice broke slightly. I buried her. Then I went to war. Took back the territory I'd traded, destroyed everyone involved in her capture, and eliminated the entire Jang leadership of that era. Is that why they're still trying to kill you? Partly, but mostly because I swore that day I would never be weak again. Never love anyone. Never give them another target. Hyun-woo turned to face Vera. For 12 years, I kept that promise. No women. No relationships. No attachments. Nothing they could use against me. Until I walked into your room. Until you walked into my room, Hyun-woo confirmed. And I should have killed you. Should have eliminated you the moment you saw this space. But you fainted and You what? I felt something I haven't felt in 12 years. Not attraction. Not yet. But interest. Curiosity. The sense that maybe you weren't like everyone else who looks at me and sees either a tool or a threat. Vera absorbed this. I'm not her replacement. I know. You're nothing like her. Hyun-woo moved closer. Min-ji was light. Your survival. She was hopeful. You're practical. She wanted to save me. You just want to exist beside me without getting killed. Is that why you let me stay? Because I'm different. I let you stay because eliminating you felt wrong. I kept you close because you don't try to change me. And I'm protecting you because... He stopped. Because the idea of someone hurting you the way they hurt her makes me want to burn the entire city down. The admission hung heavy in the air. Vera should be scared. Should recognize the possessive danger in his words. Instead, she felt seen. The same way Hyun-woo described Min-ji seeing him. I'm not going to lie and say, I understand what you went through, Vera said quietly. But I know what betrayal feels like. I know what it's like to trust someone completely and have them destroy you. Your fiancé, Devon, for years together. Planned wedding. Joint account, he emptied 2 weeks before the ceremony. Vera's voice went hard. He didn't just take my money. He took my dignity. Made me look like a fool in front of everyone I knew. My family blamed me. Said I should have seen it coming, should have been smarter. They cut me off because they'd contributed money too, and I let him steal it. You fled to Korea. I fled to anywhere that wasn't Detroit. Korea was just far enough and random enough that I thought I could disappear. You can't outrun betrayal. No, but you can build walls high enough that it can't happen again. Vera met his eyes. Sounds familiar. Hyun-woo actually smiled. We're both damaged then. Extremely. But at least we're honest about it. They sat in silence for a moment. Two broken people recognizing each other's scars. I'm sorry for keeping you here, Hyunwoo said finally. I told myself it was about protection, but Jinho was right. I don't want to be alone anymore. Then don't be. Vera reached out slowly, gave him time to pull away. When he didn't, she took his bandaged hand. You don't have to love me. You don't have to trust me completely. But you also don't have to push me away because you're scared. I'm not scared. Liar. Hyunwoo laughed, genuine this time. You're the only person who calls me a liar to my face. Someone should. Probably. He squeezed her hand gently. For the record, you're not a prisoner anymore. You can leave anytime. And go where? Back to the hostel? Back to America, where my family hates me. Vera shook her head. I'm staying because I choose to. Not because I have to. Why? Because for the first time in a long time, I don't feel invisible. You see me, Hyunwoo, the actual me. Not the broke maid, or the betrayed woman, or the burden. Just me. Something shifted in Hyunwoo's expression. Heat that hadn't been there before. Vera. Don't. She could see him building walls again. Don't talk yourself out of whatever you're feeling. Just feel it. I can't. Everyone I love dies. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm just asking you to stop being alone. Hyunwoo pulled her close, not sexually, just held her, like he was drowning and she was solid ground. Vera held him back, feeling the tension in his body slowly ease. They stayed like that for a long time, two damaged people choosing connection over safety. And when Hyunwoo finally pulled back, his eyes held something she'd never seen before. Vulnerability. Stay, he said quietly. I'm not going anywhere. Promise me. I promise. It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't even really romance. But it was real and honest, and more than either of them had let themselves have in years. Outside, Seoul glittered in the darkness, indifferent to the two people in the penthouse learning to trust again. The week after the Minji revelation changed everything. Not dramatically, not with grand gestures or declarations, but subtly, in ways that rewrote the entire dynamic between Vera and Hyunwoo. He started eating meals with her instead of alone in his office. They'd sit at the massive dining table, far too big for two people, and talk about everything except the criminal empire he ran. Vera learned Hyunwoo had studied economics in university before his father's death pulled him into the family business. That he spoke 4 languages fluently. That he had a dry sense of humor that took Vera weeks to recognize as humor at all. Hyunwoo learned Vera had wanted to be a writer before life got complicated. That she'd been the first in her family to finish college. That she missed her younger sister even though her sister had sided with her parents in cutting Vera off. You should call her, Hyunwoo suggested one night. And say what? Hey, sorry I embarrassed the family. I'm living with a Korean crime lord now. How are you? Fair point. Hyunwoo refilled her wine. Though technically you're living under his protection, not with him. Is there a difference at this point? Probably not. The ease between them felt dangerous. Vera kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. For Hyunwoo to remember he didn't do relationships. For his enemies to attack again. For something to shatter the fragile peace. The shift happened on a Thursday night. Vera had been teaching Hyunwoo slang terms in English because his formal education had left him sounding like a textbook wrote a person, as she told him. So if something is fire, Hyunwoo said slowly, it's good. Very good. Exceptional. That makes no linguistic sense. Welcome to American English. Logic is optional. Hyunwoo shook his head, but he was smiling, something Vera saw more often now. Your language is chaos. Your language has different levels of formality based on age and social status. That's chaos with extra steps. That's respect. That's exhausting. Vera stretched on the couch. Imagine having to calculate someone's age and relationship to you before deciding how to say hello. Imagine not caring about social hierarchy. I don't have to imagine. I'm American. We're aggressively casual. Hyunwoo laughed, and the sound did something to Vera's chest. Not butterflies, She was too old and too damaged for butterflies. But warmth, recognition, the sense that she'd made this dangerous, isolated man feel light for a moment. What? Hyunwoo asked, catching her staring. Nothing. Just, you should laugh more. It's a good sound. I haven't had much to laugh about in 12 years. And now I have a stubborn American woman who calls me a liar and teaches me words like fire and CUS and refuses to be afraid of me, even when she probably should be. I'm afraid of you sometimes. When you go cold. When I see you making calls, and I can hear the threat in your voice, even though I don't understand Korean. When I remember that you're capable of killing someone without hesitation. Vera held his gaze. But I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of what you can do. There's a difference. Most people don't see the difference. Most people haven't spent enough time with you to know there's more than one version. Hyunwoo went quiet. You see too much. Or you're just not as good at hiding as you think. The air between them shifted. What had been comfortable suddenly felt charged. Hyunwoo moved closer, not threatening, but deliberate. Vera. Yeah. I'm gonna kiss you now. If you don't want that, tell me. Vera's breath caught. And if I do want it, then I'm breaking a 12-year vow for the second time in a month. What was the first? Letting you live. Vera should probably be offended by that. Instead, she just pulled him closer. Then break it. The kiss started gentle, questioning, careful. Hyunwoo's hands cradled her face like she was something precious that might break. But Vera didn't want careful. She'd been careful her whole life, and where had it gotten her? Betrayed, broke, alone. She deepened the kiss, and Hyunwoo responded with an intensity that suggested 12 years of isolation was crashing down all at once. They moved from the couch to the bedroom, not Vera's guest room, but Hyunwoo's private space he'd never let her enter before. Are you sure? He asked, even as his hands were learning the shape of her. Are you? I haven't been sure of anything in 12 years. Except this. You. They took their time, not because of romance, but because they were both terrified this would break something between them. That crossing this line would ruin the fragile trust they built. But when they finally came together, it didn't feel like breaking. It felt like finding. Afterward, lying in Hyunwoo's bed with Seoul's lights filtering through the windows, Vera traced the tattoos covering his skin. What do these mean? Stories. Each one marks something significant. A war. A loss. A victory. This one, Vera touched a cherry blossom on his shoulder. Min-yi. She loved cherry blossoms. Vera should be jealous. Should feel like a replacement. Instead, she just felt sad. You carry her everywhere. Always. Hyunwoo turned to face her. But Vera, you're not her shadow. You're not a substitute. You're, what? Something I didn't think I deserved to have again. Connection. Trust. The ability to let someone see me without my armor. You're still wearing armor. Just less of it. With you, I can take it off. That's more than I've allowed in over a decade. Vera kissed him again, softer this time. So what happens now? I don't know. I've never done this before. This middle ground between alone and committed. We figure out as we go. You're okay with that? With uncertainty? Hyunwoo, my entire life has been uncertain since Devon destroyed it. At least this uncertainty has you in it. He pulled her closer, and they fell asleep tangled together, two broken people choosing to be broken together instead of separately. Morning brought reality crashing back. Vera woke to an empty bed and raised voices from the main room. She threw on Hyunwoo's shirt and emerged to find Jinho and Hyunwoo in intense discussion. Can't ignore it forever, Jinho was saying in English, probably for Vera's benefit. They know she's here. They know she matters to you. It's only a matter of time. Then we increase security. Security won't matter if they're willing to die to get to her. What's happening? Vera asked. Both men turned. Jinho bowed slightly. Miss Lo, I apologize for the intrusion. Jinho brought intelligence. Hyunwoo said, his voice controlled, but Vera could see the tension in his jaw. The Jang Syndicate is planning something. We don't know it yet, but they've been asking questions about you. Your background, your family, your history in America. Why? Because, Hyunwoo said grimly, they're looking for leverage. A way to control me through you. Then I should leave. Go back to America. Get out of your life. No. The word was sharp, absolute. Hyunwoo, if I'm the weakness. You're not a weakness. You're the first thing I've cared about in 12 years, and I will burn Seoul to the ground before I let them use you against me. The possessive intensity should have scared Vera. Instead, it just made her more certain of her choice to stay. Then what do? We wait, Hyunwoo said. And when they make their move, we end this. Permanently. So Hyunwoo just went from, I haven't touched a woman in 12 years to I will burn Seoul down to protect you in like a month. Character development at light speed. If you're not subscribed by now, I'm judging you. Hit that button. Drop a comment. Is this the most intense love story or the most possessive? Both? Let me know. 2 more chapters and this gets wild. The call came 3 days later. Vera was reading in the living room while Hyunwoo worked in his office. Jinho entered without his usual knock, his expression grim. Sir, we have a situation. Hyunwoo emerged immediately. Talk. Jinho pulled out his tablet, showed them surveillance photos. Our contacts in immigration flagged this person entering Korea yesterday. American. Male. Age 31. Vera's blood went cold. The face in the photo was one she'd hoped never to see again. Devin Mitchell. No, Vera whispered. No, that's not. Why would... Who is this? Hyunwoo demanded, though his tone suggested he already knew. My ex-fiancé. The one who stole from you and disappeared. Hyunwoo's voice went deadly calm. Why is he in Seoul? We don't know yet, Jinho said. But he entered on a visitor visa and went directly to a hotel in Gangnam. The same hotel where we know Jang's syndicate maintains a presence. They brought him here, Hyunwoo said flatly. Appears so. We're working on getting more intel, but... Hyunwoo's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Hyunwoo Park, a voice said in accented English. Male, Korean, older. I believe we have mutual interests to discuss. Identify yourself. Kim Jia-sung, Jang's Syndicate Operations Director. I'm calling to arrange a meeting. I don't meet with dead men walking. Even when I have something you want. Or rather, someone. The implication was clear. If you've touched her, we haven't touched anyone. Yet. But we do have a guest who's very interested in speaking with Miss Vera Lowe. I believe you know him. Devin Mitchell. Vera felt like she'd been punched. Hyunwoo's expression went glacial. What do you want? A conversation. Neutral location. You, me, and Miss Lowe. Mr. Mitchell will be there as well. We discuss the future. Terms. Arrangements. And if I refuse, then Mr. Mitchell will be very disappointed. And when people disappoint us, we get creative about expressing our feelings. There's a lovely family in Detroit, the Lowe's, I believe. 2 parents, 3 siblings still in the city. It would be unfortunate if something happened to them. Vera's hands started shaking. Hyunwoo saw, and his expression turned absolutely murderous. You threaten her family. You threaten her. You threaten her. You declare war on me. Is that really what you want? I want negotiation. The meeting is tomorrow, 8 p.m. at the Riverside Park Pavilion. Come alone with Miss Lowe, or don't come at all. Your choice. The line went dead. Silence filled the penthouse. Then Hyunwoo threw his phone with enough force to shatter it against the wall. Sir, Jinho began. Get everyone. Every available asset. I want surveillance on that park, snipers on every building with line of sight, and a strike team ready to move the second I give the word. They said come alone. I don't care what they said. Vera is not walking into that park unprotected. Hyunwoo. Vera's voice was shaky. Maybe I should just talk to Devin. Find out what he wants. He wants to use you. That's all this is. The Jang paid him to come here, to play on your history, to make you doubt your choice to stay with me. How do you know? Because it's what I would do if I wanted to break someone. Find their past, their weakness, their unhealed wound, and rip it open. Vera thought about Devin, about the betrayal that had destroyed her life. I want to go, she said. Absolutely not. I need to see him. Need to hear whatever bullshit he's selling. Because if I don't, I'll always wonder. Vera, I'm not running anymore. From him, from this situation, from anything. If they want to use my past against me, fine. Let them try. But I face it standing beside you, not hiding behind you. Hyunwoo looked at her for a long moment. You're sure? I am terrified. But I'm sure. Then we do this my way. Jin-ho, prep everything. I want. The rest of the conversation happened in rapid Korean, but Vera caught the gist. Overwhelming force disguised as compliance. That night, Vera couldn't sleep. She lay in Hyunwoo's bed, hers now, by unspoken agreement, and stared at the ceiling. Hyunwoo appeared in the doorway. Talk to me. I keep thinking about what he'll say. Devin, he's good at manipulation. Good at making me doubt myself. Then don't listen alone. I'll be there. What if he offers me a way out? What if he says he'll take me back to America, help me start over, get away from all this? Do you want that? Vera turned to face him. No, but I'm scared I'll be tempted anyway. Why? Because this life, your life, it's dangerous. And maybe Devin is offering me safe. Safe isn't the same as good. Hyunwoo climbed into bed beside her. And I won't lie to you, Vera. My life is dangerous. Being with me means being a target. It means violence and risk and never having complete peace. If you want safe, I can arrange it. New identity, money, a life far from here. I won't stop you. But I'll miss you every day for the rest of my life. The honesty broke something in Vera's chest. I don't want safe, she said. I want you. Even with the danger. Even with the risk. Because you're the first person who ever made me feel like I mattered more than my usefulness. Hyunwoo kissed her, deep, possessive, desperate. Tomorrow, when we go to that park, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Yes. Even if things get violent, especially then. The Riverside Park Pavilion was exactly as ominous as Vera expected. Open-air structure, surrounded by trees, multiple exits. The kind of place where violence could erupt and disappear quickly. Hyunwoo and Vera arrived exactly at 8 p.m. Hyunwoo had insisted she wear a bulletproof vest under her jacket. She felt ridiculous and protected in equal measure. They walked into the pavilion to find 3 people waiting. Kim Jae-sung, 60s expensive suit, the kind of cold calculation in his eyes that made Vera's skin crawl. 2 bodyguards, young, armed, professional. And Devin Mitchell. He looked exactly the same. Handsome in a bland way. Dressed well. The same smile that had once made Vera feel safe, and now just made her feel sick. Vera, Devin said, stepping forward. Thank God. I've been so worried. Don't. Vera's voice was ice. Don't you dare pretend you're here because you care. I am here because I care. When I heard you were in Seoul, mixed up with him, Devin gestured at Hyunwoo with barely concealed fear. I had to come. To get you out. You stole $47,000 from me and disappeared 2 weeks before our wedding. You don't get to play rescuer. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But I'm here to make it right. By working with the people who want to kill him. Vera gestured to Kim. By letting them use you to manipulate me? Real heroic, Devin. Kim Jae-sung stepped forward. Miss Lowe, let's discuss this rationally. Mr. Mitchell came to us because he was concerned for your safety. And frankly, he's right to be concerned. Hyunwoo Park is a dangerous man. Criminal. Violent. Surely you understand that staying with him is unwise. What I understand, Vera said, is that you brought my ex-fiancé here to make me doubt the man who's shown me more respect in 2 months than Devin did in 4 years. He's using you, Devin insisted. Can't you see that? You're a tool to him. A weakness his enemies can exploit. That's why he gestured to Kim, contacted me. Because they know he'll destroy you to protect his empire. Actually, Hyunwoo spoke for the first time, his voice deadly calm. I'll destroy my empire to protect her. There's a difference. The statement hung in the air. Kim's expression shifted. Surprise, then calculation. You're bluffing. Test me. Hyunwoo's smile was pure threat. Vera stays with me by choice. If you want to use her against me, you'll find I'm willing to burn everything I've built to keep her safe. Territory, alliances, reputation, all of it. I'll go to war with every criminal organization in Seoul, if that's what it takes. You'd sacrifice 12 years of work for a woman you barely know. I'd sacrifice everything for the woman I choose. Hyun-woo looked at Vera. And I choose her. Devon looked between them, realization dawning. You're sleeping with him. Jesus, Vera, he's a murderer. And you're a thief who broke my heart and destroyed my life. At least Hyun-woo is honest about what he is. I'm offering you a way out. Devon's composure cracked. Come with me. Back to America. Start over. I'll pay back the money. With what money? The money they paid you to come here and manipulate me? Devon flinched. That's what I thought. Vera stepped closer to Hyun-woo. I'm not leaving. I'm not going back. And I'm definitely not choosing you. Kim Jia Esung Sai. This is disappointing. I'd hoped for rational negotiation. Then you shouldn't have brought her past to use as a weapon, Hyun-woo said. So what happens now? Kim asked. You refuse to negotiate. We refuse to back down. This ends in war. No. Hyun-woo's expression went cold. This ends with a message. He drew his weapon, smooth, practiced, and before anyone could react, shot Devon Mitchell twice in the chest. Devon collapsed, blood spreading across the pavilion floor. Vera gasped, but she didn't scream. Didn't run. Kim's bodyguards raised their weapons, but Hyun-woo kept his aim steady. Tell your organization, Vera is mine. Anyone who touches her dies. Anyone who threatens her family dies. Anyone who so much as looks at her wrong dies. This, he gestured to Devon's body, is mercy compared to what I'll do to anyone who tries again. You just started a war, Kim said coldly. No, I just ended a negotiation. Hyun-woo grabbed Vera's hand. Let's go. They walked out of the pavilion as Jin-ho and his team materialized from the shadows, surrounding them, weapons drawn. The drive back to the hotel was silent. When they finally reached the penthouse, Vera turned to Hyun-woo. You killed him. Yes. In front of me. Yes. If that changes things. Vera kissed him. Hard. Desperate. Thank you, she said when they broke apart. For killing your ex? For choosing me. For making it clear I'm not negotiable. For being exactly who you are without apology. Hyun-woo held her face gently. There will be consequences. The Jang won't let this go. Then we face them. Together. You're sure? This is your last chance to walk away. I'm not walking anywhere. You're stuck with me. Good. Hyun-woo kissed her again. Because I'm keeping you. Permanently. And for the first time since Devon destroyed her life, Vera felt like she'd finally found where she belonged. Not safe. In choice. The war with the Jang Syndicate lasted exactly 48 hours. Not because it was small or contained, but because Hyun-woo approached it with the same ruthless efficiency he applied to everything. Overwhelming force, strategic targeting, and absolutely no mercy. Jin-ho coordinated strikes on every Jang property simultaneously. Financial assets frozen through blackmail and bribery. Key members arrested on charges Hyun-woo's people had been collecting evidence for over years. The leadership offered a choice. Leave Seoul permanently or die. Most chose exile. 3 chose death. They got it. By the end of the second day, the Jang Syndicate as a functioning organization ceased to exist in Seoul. Vera watched it happen from the penthouse, seeing news reports of gang violence and organized crime crackdown that completely missed the real story. One man had declared war to protect one woman and won. It's over, Hyun-woo said on the third morning, looking exhausted but satisfied. The Jang are gone. The other organizations have been encouraged to respect your safety. It's done. Just like that. Just like that. He pulled her close. You're safe now. Really safe. No threats, no leverage, no past coming back to haunt you. Because you destroyed anyone who might threaten me. Yes. Is that a problem? Vera thought about it honestly. It should be. Normal people will be horrified. But I'm just relieved and grateful. And maybe that makes me as damaged as you are. Probably. Hyunwoo kissed her forehead. But you're free now. You could leave. Go back to America, start fresh with the money you've saved, live a normal life. I wouldn't stop you. Do you want me to leave? No, but I want you to choose freely. Not because you're afraid or obligated or feel like you owe me. Vera looked around the penthouse. 6 weeks ago, she'd been broke, alone, invisible. Now she was safe, seen, chosen by someone who'd literally gone to war for her. I'm staying, she said. You're sure? Completely. But Hyunwoo, if I stay, I want to be more than just your girlfriend who lives here. I want to be part of this. Your world, your life, your partner in everything. That's not the kind of world you just dip your toes into. Once you're fully in, there's no going back. I'm already in. I just want to stop pretending I'm not. Hyunwoo studied her for a long moment. There's a tradition in Korean criminal organizations, a way of marking permanent bonds. It's called a claiming. Like marriage, more binding than marriage. It's a tattoo, a specific design that marks you as mine. Not property, partner, equal. The person I choose above everyone else. You want to give me a tattoo? I want to give you the option. If you accept, everyone in this world knows you're untouchable. That harming you means war with me. That you speak with my authority. That you're not just someone I'm protecting. You're someone I've chosen as my match. Vera thought about Devin's ring, which she'd thrown in a river in Detroit before leaving. About all the symbols of love that had been taken from her or proven false. This was different. Permanent. Honest. A mark that couldn't be stolen or betrayed. I accept. The tattoo artist came to the penthouse because of course he did. Nothing in Hyunwoo's world was normal. The design was delicate but unmistakable. A cherry blossom for Minji, for honoring the past, intertwined with a lotus flower, for Vera, for rising from mud to bloom. On her left shoulder blade, visible but not ostentatious. It hurt, but Vera had been through worse. Hyunwoo held her hand the entire time. When it was finished, the artist bowed deeply to Vera. You're the first in 12 years, miss. It is an honor. After he left, Hyunwoo traced the new tattoo gently. No going back now, he said. Didn't want to go back anyway. 6 months later, Vera sat beside Hyunwoo at a meeting with Seoul's other major criminal organizations. She wore business attire and the claiming mark visible above her collar. She'd learned Korean fluently. Not just conversation, but the formal registers required for business. She understood the politics, the alliances, the careful dance of respect and threat that kept the peace. The meeting was tense. Territory disputes, revenue sharing, the usual criminal administrative bullshit, as Vera had learned to think of it. Then one of the younger bosses, cocky, new to power, made a comment in Korean that roughly translated to nice decoration while looking at Vera. The room went silent. Hyunwoo didn't move, didn't raise his voice, just spoke in that deadly calm tone that meant someone was about to die. That's my wife you're referring to. Would you like to clarify your statement? The young boss paled. I meant no disrespect. Yes, you did. But I'll give you one chance to apologize to her directly. In Korean, since she speaks it better than you do. The boss turned to Vera, bowing deeply. I apologize for my disrespect, Mrs. Park. It was inappropriate and offensive. Vera let him sweat for a moment, then replied in flawless Korean, apology accepted. But understand this, I'm not decoration. I'm not a trophy. I'm his partner. That means what's his is mine, and what's mine is his, including the authority to end people who disrespect this organization. Remember that. The boss nodded frantically. The meeting continued. No one else tested Vera's position. That night, back in the penthouse, Vera kicked off her shoes and collapsed on the couch. I hate formal meetings. You handled that perfectly, Hyunwoo said, bringing her wine. The authority to end people line was particularly effective. Learn from the best. He sat beside her. Any regrets? About what? All of it. Staying. The claiming. Becoming part of this world. Vera thought about the girl she'd been 6 months ago. Broken, alone in a foreign country with no hope and no future. Now she was fluent in Korean, financially stable, protected by the most powerful criminal in Seoul, and sitting beside a man who destroyed his enemies to keep her safe. No regrets, she said, except maybe that I didn't walk into your room sooner. Hyun-woo laughed. You would have died sooner. Worth it if it meant getting here faster. He pulled her close. I love you. It was the first time he'd said it explicitly. Vera felt her chest tighten. I love you too. Even though you're terrifying and possessive and occasionally shoot people who deserve it. Only occasionally? Don't push your luck. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Seoul glitter through the windows. Vera's phone buzzed. A message from her younger sister, Keisha, the first contact in 8 months. I heard you're doing okay. I'm glad. I'm sorry we didn't support you. Love you, sis. Vera showed Hyun-woo. Should I respond? Do you want to? I don't know. Feels like too little too late. Or it feels like a beginning. If you want to rebuild that relationship, I'll support you. Even if it means visiting Detroit and being charming to your family. You, charming to American civilians. This I have to see. I could be charming. You held a knife to my throat the first time we met. That was different. I didn't know you yet. And now you're the only person in the world who makes me want to be something other than dangerous. Vera kissed him. You could be both. Dangerous to your enemies, safe for me. I like the contradiction. Good. Because I'm not changing. Didn't ask you to. 2 weeks later, Vera stood on the penthouse balcony overlooking Seoul at sunset. She'd come so far. From Detroit to Seoul. From broke to stable. From invisible to seen. From broken to not healed exactly, but whole in a different way. Hyun-woo joined her, wrapping his arms around her from behind. What are you thinking about? How random it all was. If I'd gotten off the elevator on the right floor, if I hadn't been so tired I couldn't think straight, if you'd actually killed me that first night, none of this happens. Chaos theory. One small change rewrites everything. Do you believe in fate? No, but I believe some people are inevitable. Like you and me, maybe we don't meet that exact way, but we meet somehow, because some connections are too strong to miss. That's surprisingly romantic for a man who murders people professionally. I contain multitudes. Vera laughed. That you do. They stood together as the sun set over Seoul, two damaged people who'd found each other by accident and chosen each other deliberately. Vera would never be the same person she was before Devon destroyed her. But she didn't want to be. That person had been weak, uncertain, easily broken. This person, the one with the claiming mark, the fluent Korean, the crime lord fiancé, was strong, certain, unbreakable. Thank you, Vera said. For what? For not killing me when you had the chance. Hyun-woo turned her to face him, his expression serious. Best decision I ever made. Even better than building a criminal empire? Infinitely better. The empire is just power. Your life. And standing there in his arms, Vera finally believed what she'd doubted for years. She was worth choosing. She was worth fighting for. She was worth everything. Not because someone saved her, but because she'd saved herself and found someone willing to stand beside her in the aftermath. And that is how a broke American Maid becomes the feared wife of Seoul's most dangerous crime lord. Vera went from fainting from hunger to threatening other mob bosses, in Korean. If you're not subscribed after this journey, I don't even know what to tell you. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop a comment. Would you have chosen to stay with Hyun-woo or taken the safe option? Let me know. Thanks for watching this intense story, and I'll see you in the next one.